Hello and welcome to Frontline Conversations. Today we have editor Bina Paul with us. We obviously are not talking about the joys of editing a movie, where a movie is actually born at the editor's table. We are talking about something far, far more important about the Women in Cinema Collective, the Hema Committee Report, and what is happening subsequently. Thank you, ma'am, for agreeing to do this show.
Thank you. Thanks, Ark.
My first question is that what is it like to be a woman in cinema? This is one of the statements you made in one of the conclaves recently.
Yeah.
So please kindly explain.
Being a woman in cinema, it's a great joy, I must say, to be a woman, to be able to work in cinema. But working conditions are far from ideal. Um, in the sense that, for one, there is a great sense that you are a little bit inferior. I have to say that now I am grey and I have done so many films, and I cannot say that this happens to be now. But when I started, there was a lot of, um, I don't know the word, how the word, what the word is, but disbelief, suspicion, lack of confidence, all that mixed with your capability to be part of this world. And this has reportedly been told to us that all along you're always suspect if you're a woman. That's one thing. Secondly, there's always a sense that you have taken a man's place. That you're editing because of some reason, that one, or because there's never a sense that you are worthy of this film and therefore you have been. So there is that lack of almost professionalism. Um, I mean, I've had a really great career, and I've been really lucky to have worked with some of the best directors, etc. But at the assistant director level, at the assistant editor level, at the workplace, there is a lot of attitude problems. And so, it's you never feel confident of yourself to say, yeah, I've sort of achieved this because I'm a good editor. But often it's like, oh, you're a woman, you got a chance, that kind of. So it's a bit, I must say, a little unsettling. And WCC has made us think of all this. When you talk with women, you realize that it's not an individual. Sometimes you're ashamed to even admit this to yourself. But I think just being with WCC and the women, these conversations make you realize that there is this problem.
Mhm. And these conversations have happened with women colleagues of yours. I mean, you won multiple national awards, and you curate, at least till recently, you curated the Indian International Film Festival in Kerala. At what point do you think I'm fine? All these are nonsense. What point do you?
At no point, actually, because uh, it's quite interesting, because as an editor, of course, I got the national award for Revati's film, which was really wonderful because it was an all women crew and we all worked together and we really enjoyed it. But as the artistic director of the IFFK, it was a tough experience. Right till the end, it was a tough experience because there is
All the what 22 years?
almost 20,
Ah.
20, 22 years, yeah, with some breaks in between. But basically, you always have a feeling, um, it's so male. Decision making
Mhm.
is so
Mhm.
male. The company is so male that there is a discomfort all the time. And that discomfort was there till the end, unfortunately.
Mm, mm,
I
mm.
think I hope I was respected for my work, etc. But I cannot explain that you feel they don't like you so much.
That's okay. I think we all live with that.
That's true.
So coming to Women in Cinema Collective itself, I did speak to Revati about how it came about and all that. You are one of the founding members. What would you say characterize as the main achievement as we sit here today?
I think that we pushed gender onto the agenda. There was never any talk till 2017 I remember there was one policy meeting about the cinema policy, and this was before 2017. And I remember saying, gender has to be there, gender has to be there. And uh, everybody was surprised. What is gender? What is gender? After WCC came
Mm.
to being, I think what has happened is that there is talk that there are problems in this industry as far as women participation, women workplace, sexual harassment, um, uh, women's stories, content. So this whole um, sort of aspect which had been ignored for so many years has come up. And I think with the coming of the Hema Committee report, the the sense that yeah, there are women in this labor force and they have to be acknowledged has become a very important thing. I think that is one of the main achievements of WCC.
So when we speak about women, can all women be in the same compartment, or are women the technical side like you very, very different from the women who are in front of the camera?
That is often a very tricky kind of question, because certainly they are more privileged. Actors on a certain rung are
Yeah,
far more privileged, but you cannot compare it with an art assistant
yeah.
or somebody who's, a hairstylist or costumer or assistant director. Uh, but the bottom line is the same. That is the problem. That is the truth. Um, their challenges may be different, because an actor is obviously, looked at in more commercial terms if you've done something, or you, for whatever reason there is. Whereas for the technician, you're so replaceable, you are so not really wanted on the set. I mean, if an assistant director, if there's a girl and she leaves, who the hell cares,
Mm, mm.
so that difference is there. But what we have tried to address is the shared experience. Of course, there are lots of experiences that are different, but we have tried to sort of focus on the shared experience, which comes from certain gender issues.
Now, when we talk about women in technical spaces, of course, HEMA committee also makes it very clear that there are not enough women and all of that. Uh, do they have special problems on the set or off the set and in other places of work?
See, I can only talk of Kerala, which is, I must say, very different from even Tamil Nadu and even Bombay. Mumbai, the Mumbai film
Yeah,
industry, where there is large presence now
yeah.
of women, either at the storyboarding level, at the scripting level, etc. In Kerala, that has not happened
Mm.
yet. So, as a woman technician, the first thing that you face is being in a great minority. So, in a set of 80 people, there may be 3 women.
Oh,
So that itself is a challenge. You ask for a room, you ask for security, you ask for travel, you ask for anything extra, you're dispensable with. So
mm,
that is a real challenge for Kerala. I was in editing rooms where I was the only woman for years and years and years. There will be an occasional dubbing artist or this thing.
yeah,
Uh, Even in our sound studios, still there are very few women, but I find in Tamil Nadu there are more, and in Bombay there are more women. We've heard of, very great mixers,
yeah.
sound mixers, and all from there, but you still haven't got that in Kerala. And the interesting thing I can say is that a lot of the girls who work in Bombay are Malayali,
Oh,
but they all go there because it is not very conducive here,
I
you
see.
know and there is a lot of attitude. I think this kind of, it's not misogyny fully, in the sense that it's not because they hate women or
Yeah.
anything. There is no understanding of professional uh, respect, basically,
Mm.
in a field like cinema, which, it's like, can you carry that camera? Is that the judge of a good
Yeah.
cinematographer? So this kind of thing, I think, yeah, technicians really do have a whole set of challenges that we are trying to address now. Call sheets, work timings, leave. During certain times of the year, a cinematographer can need 1 or 2 days leave,
Yeah.
whether that is addressed, things like that. There's changing rooms, um, bathrooms with facilities, disposable facilities. There are a whole lot of challenges which technicians face
Mhm.
at their workplace, apart from the whole
Yeah.
business of course, sexual harassment, which is
Yeah. Ever since the Hema Committee report came out in the public domain, retracted and all of that, redacted and all of that, that's fine. There has been a disproportionate attention on the women actors. Do you think that's a good thing in the sense that it at least gives some focus and then brings the focus on to the women in cinema itself?
yeah, I think unfortunately, or fortunately maybe, the Hema Committee opened a can of worms. I think women suddenly felt that they can talk. Assistant directors have talked, producers have talked, actors have talked. Of course, the actors get the most attention because it is often, related to the casting couch.
Yeah.
Also the media plays that card quite a bit. There's a lot of interest. It becomes a little
Yeah.
voyeuristic sometimes. But I think it's a good thing. I think this pouring out
Mm.
needed to happen. People had to first face the fact that there is a problem. You see, till now, every time WCC kept saying, there is a problem, there is a problem, y'all are troublemakers, you want to dirty the industry, you want Malayalam cinema is the best in the world, and y'all are saying all these horrible things, y'all are betrayers, y'all are traitors, y'all are feminists, feminici, that was the big word used. So I think this kind of outpouring, because nobody would have read the report otherwise, but because of this outpouring, so many people have realized there is a report, there are things, and it is now our business to draw it back to the core issues.
Mm. How did this Hema Committee report come into being itself? Like, we have not heard anything similar anywhere else in India. Of course, there is something in Telugu cinema, but nothing which is initiated
Comparable.
by women in cinema, forcing a government to act, government actually acting, a report coming out, and it actually getting published. Coming out in the public domain.
These are the achievements. When I say gender became a kind of thing, it was because of us. So, what happened was basically when we got together in 2017 after the abduction and all that, there was so much talk among us. I've heard of this, you've heard of this, I've gone
Mm,
through this, somebody else I know has gone through this. All this was
mm,
sort of the talk in the air.
yeah.
And we did not even know how many women work in cinema, what are the various divisions that happen. So this was the one thing we asked the government, saying, look, study the industry, study it from a gender point of view. There are unions, there are associations, they all look, but what are the women in this as a labor force going through? So this was a very important thing because more than the recommendations, the findings we were very interested in to know what is happening here. And it has unfortunately or fortunately revealed exactly what we thought. Almost exactly what we thought.
Mm,
Though I must say the level of the human rights violation is quite shocking.
mhm.
Things we hadn't even heard of, separate food,
Yeah.
people being treated differently. I mean, this was all absolutely shocking.
Somebody actually told me that there is a hierarchy even in the glasses in which is used to, give tea. Like for instance, the top actors get it in porcelain, China, and the lowest form of existence
It's a
gets it in a
very
paper cup.
feudal society. You cannot help. I mean, this is what we want to say, that this is a very feudal way of operating. I like this person, let them come. I don't like this. How do you hire? Do you look at three camera persons' work and then choose? So then they'll say, oh, but it is creative, it is creative. But professionalism is professionalism. Now, of course, you have to see personality, you have to see the person's work, but at least believe that there is a professionalism. Why does the rest of the country, world do it? Is this the only creative industry? It is not. Everybody is
Yeah,
making films. You have to submit your work, you have to submit portfolios, you have to, I mean, actors have to go through
yeah.
auditions. These are all part of, you have to sign contracts, you have to know clearly your times of work. All these are part of it. So I think that is the problem, that, there's a kind of feudalism that existed and did not change.
Mm, mm.
And again, I'd like to say I'm not for corporatization. I'm not saying the industry should become big corporates or anything. I'm just saying within whatever you work, try and make sure that it's a transparent system. It's a contemporary system. What does contemporary mean? Accepting that the world is
Yeah.
today not what it was yesterday. So these are the kind of conversations we would very much like to have.
And I believe there are some 29 trades in the film
Yeah.
industry itself. And is it possible to actually standardize each one's work, drop contracts? Uh, will it?
There are ways. If there is
Yeah,
a will, there is certainly a way. I think, yeah, I think even, I mean, everybody needs this. The light boys, they work light men
yeah,
work day in and day out. Who's protecting their interests? Costume girls, costume boys, they work day and night. A costumer finishes work the last, has to be there first. There's whole lot of things that are just not taken into account when you look at this labor force. So while we are saying women, and when you're marginalized, you're even worsely affected. So when we're talking about women, we're talking about, I mean, there are many intersections of marginalization that we know exist, but as a collective, as an advocacy group for women, we talk for women.
yeah. And is it possible to actually, monitor implementation of, leave out the sexual exploitation part of it, the other exploitations? Is it possible to,
Of course
uh,
it is. Of course, there has to be ways. There have to be grievance resolution. Supposing I don't get my money on time, where do I
yeah,
go?
yeah,
There
exactly.
must be, there should be a system where I can complain and say this person has not paid me, or has not paid me as much as he promised me, or whatever. I think grievance redressal, apart from, of course, the posh
Yeah,
implementation, grievance redressal, transparent systems, professional kind of. Why don't I know this morning how long I'm working? How long
mm.
am I expected to work? When I sign my contract, is it for 20 days? Is it for 40 days?
Oh, that you don't know. Like normally in a,
No, this is
oh,
the big thing in Malayalam cinema. Over the last 4 years, after we've started shouting, there is some, but there were no contracts.
oh.
You see, so it's astonishing actually.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, everybody is shocked. Contracts is a very, very new thing in Malayalam cinema. Maybe about 4 or 5 years at the most, and that too certain kind of professions get contract, certain are left out, and that's where it's through these cracks that all this
Yeah.
feudalism plays out.
Yeah, I mean, Malayalis pride in saying that this is the best cinema in the world, and of course, India celebrates Malayalam cinema. Why can't the best cinema in the world get these basic things right, so it becomes the best cinema for the universe?
Oh, we are hoping that it'll all get cleaned up. Frankly, I think nobody questioned it till now. There was
Mm.
no questioning at all. You quickly go make a good film. I mean, it's a very literate society. It's a very creative society. So therefore, good cinema will come out of this society. There is no question about it. But process is also important.
Yeah.
That is what I think was never looked at. And this questioning has raised all that, which
Mhm.
hopefully will.
Now, I've seen a lot what was going on in Malayalam media during this time, ever since the Hema Committee report has been published. Now, what is the average person, avid movie watcher or anybody who what have people been telling you?
Well, two things. One is that one side is, oh, we knew all along that it was happening, this, that, and the other. The other side is that civil society is waking up to the fact that this kind of gender exploitation is more rampant than they even imagined.
Hmm,
It
hmm,
probably exists in other, for example, in the media itself, that
yeah,
there may be
yeah,
this, maybe
hmm,
a whole lot of, the
hmm,
television sector,
yeah,
this, that, and the other. So I think it's quite divided. You have the kind of middle class who's saying, oh, these women, very interested in all this stories that are coming out, but not understanding what and
hmm.
why it's happening. But there is a very strong section that is actually paying attention. And I believe that this is also going to, alter gender questions in Kerala.
We have seen outrage for a lot of things in India, right from the Nirbhaya agitation onwards. Now we see that outrage cannot last beyond 3 days or 5 days, and unless an extremely powerful political party is behind the scene, it doesn't last more than 10 days. Uh, you are a collective of just women in cinema. That's it. I mean, 4, 5 people, and there have been
Not 4,
attempts.
5, 40.
Sorry, 40 people. We started with 4, 5, now 40.
Yeah.
Now, the point is that there have been attempts to give work to one or two of you and try and wean you off this place. How difficult is it to take this forward, this movement forward?
It's very difficult. As you said, there are structural problems within the organization. There is the whole backlash. A lot of people cannot continue to be because they don't get work. All this is it's a very difficult thing. But again and again, we are saying that it's not our job, it's
Yeah,
everybody's job,
absolutely.
right? So don't think that we are going to clean it up. All we can do as an advocacy group is say, clean it up, clean it up, clean it up. You have to clean it up. Now, who does it? Whether it's the government, whether it's the associations, whether it is this, first of all, accept there's a problem. Second of all, let's get down together and do it. So I don't think WC is taking on a big mantle. We are not taking on this mantle of that we are going to solve and change. All we're saying is there are problems, let's all sit together and solve them. So I think in that sense, we don't want to, I mean, we are all professional women, we want to do other things, we don't want to only be sort of stuck to be known as
Yeah,
WCC. Every single one of us wants to be a professional. But at this moment, it is important that we hold hands, we stay together and help for
yeah,
when you hear all these stories, you think it should never happen. It should never, never happen that you dream to be an actor. As
yeah.
any boy, a girl might dream to be an actor, but when she comes here, her body becomes the main tool
Currency.
she has to use. So that should never happen, is basically what we're saying.
So WCC looks at structural change and tries to make sure that the larger picture, is better for women at least of tomorrow. Now, what about the individual stories? You have ever since the Hema Committee, the government constituted the special investigation team, and now there are a lot of confusion surrounding this women outpouring to the SIT. At the same time, there are FIRs registered in some local police
You see,
stations.
I have to say that we were really the alacrity which the government formed the SIT was something else. It was like within 3 days. But we are very concerned about this. We are concerned about privacy issues. We are concerned about, a lot of these stories happen when this outpouring took place. It was also a kind of dam that burst, and you remembered something that happened 20 years ago or 15 years ago. Now, are you going to say, let me hang this person? Or are you going to say that part of this is my healing? I have to get on. So, the SIT does not, in the present constitution, does not look at it as a it's not only punitive. We are
Okay.
not looking only for punitive action. We are looking for healing also. And therefore, there should be lawyers, there should be counselors, there should be, if somebody wants to take punitive action, it is absolutely the right of that person. And this is not to protect or perpetrators. What we are saying is the choice is the woman's. Please let the woman make the choice. Do not push her into lifelong
Yeah.
litigation. Do not push her into public defamation positions. What you need to do is deal very sensitively with the fact that there has been a lot of problems, and prevention is what we are talking
Yeah.
about, that this should not happen again. Okay, this has happened. So the SIT is, I mean, privacy concerns are very, very high, that, uh, will targeting of another nature take place if you talk, etc. So, yeah, so these are, in fact, what is really preoccupying us now, that are there terms of reference? Who are the people? Are they sensitive enough to deal with these issues? Have they got the experience to deal with women who are very traumatized? So that kind of thing
There is
is.
this confusion between FIR and deposition before the SIT. Uh, FIR is the path for anybody who wants to take punitive legal action, as I understand it, and SIT is for the larger resolution of the issue. Is that the way that it's being looked at?
We really don't know. There are no terms of reference been given to us, number one. Number two, uh, what we have heard is the SIT is asking women, do you want to file FIR? That is
Uh-huh.
what is the kind of path it seems to. And there seems to be some coercion. That's why we are very uncertain that
Mm.
you have to file an FIR. I mean, we've heard cases like that as well. And we don't think a lot of the women are equipped
Mm.
to deal with this really. So it is of utmost concern and utmost appeal to the government, that we are saying, look, you've set up an SIT, all very well, but what is the mandate of this SIT, and how are you looking at the bigger picture?
Mm. Looking at something very different, the court wants an IC in every particular set. I mean, any film set. Now, isn't it better to set this up as an independent body with the producers council or something like that, where it is truly independent and not dependent on the whims and fancies of a particular film set?
No, it's a two-level thing.
Yeah.
ICs on the whole, all over the country, under the POSH Act, are going through some. I mean, everybody's talking about how, because it's always the powerful who set up the ICs, etc. But the lack of the IC is also problematic. If on a film set, a T person or somebody continuously keeps rubbing themselves against me, where do I go? Do I go running to the producer over there? You see, we are not talking about um, these huge issues only. There are
Mm.
also these issues. Every time they go past, they're giving me a rub. Now, what do I do? Who do I go to?
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
So that mechanism has to be set in place. I get WhatsApp messages. Perhaps somebody is just sending you WhatsApp messages, or there is constant, oh, you're not looking nice today, you're dressing. There's whole lot of the whole sort of gamut of sexual harassment is so wide and so invisibilized in our society that it has to be addressed at the local level also, at a film set level, right? Now, beyond that, if there are issues, we are saying there must be a more sort of centralized system, etc. The ICs at the local level have to be set up in a transparent way. There have to be widespread information that there is an IC, you know who to go to. You see, because an IC also becomes a preventive. When you
Okay.
have, people know that they're going to be complained against, they will be a little more cautious. And gender sensitization training. This at every level has to go on, at the union level, at the association level, at when we, uh, I have signed no tolerance to
Oh,
any sexual harassment forms. You have to, when you sign your contract, say, I will not indulge. And, that kind of systemic intervention. Sometimes it happens somewhere else, all that kind of
yeah.
thing. So you need a bigger system. But I feel ICs at the workplace are very important.
And do you think a posh committee certification is required, mandatory for every movie before it is released? Will it work?
See, this is a good question. I think if you can say no animals were harmed, you have to say I have
No women were harmed.
no.
Sorry.
No, that they do say violence against
Yeah.
women and all that they say. I think what should be the thing is that the Posh Act has been followed. I
Okay.
think it's also example setting, when you have deep seated attitudes,
Yeah.
you have to do every little thing to change these attitudes. So every time a person goes and sees, first of all, they'll ask, what is posh? You'll say
Correct.
the norms of posh. They will know that there is. So I think these are all not sort of big, huge things, but these are all little chipping at attitude that we have to do.
So initially, as soon as the Hema Committee report came out, we saw Amma being disbanded. There was a reaction, and a superstar saying that he has not read the report, and another great star saying that don't destroy movies, Malayalam movies, and all of that. Has that attitude undergone any change at the level of
I
those people
think
who
a
matter?
little. I think the union, the federation has been having a series of consultations, meetings, etc. But still, the problem is they still look at WCC as the enemy. That is the problem.
Hmm.
The problem is not to say, yeah, look, there's a problem. It's been pointed out in the Hema Committee report. Therefore, let's all sit together and see. Instead, it is all, oh, these WCC women, this, that. So I think it's quite irresponsible to have sort of just said, oh, we are not responsible. Nobody is holding one person responsible. Everybody is saying it's systemic. It starts from the top, it goes to the bottom. I mean, it's about young girls and boys coming and having no idea about sexuality, no idea about consent. How do you grow them into a profession, to be professional and to be responsible citizens? This is the question we're asking. We're saying on a set where there are dancers, and they may be 18 years old, they may be
Yeah.
19 years old, they're dancing together, they're dressed differently, etc. How do they deal with all this? Is there a system we are saying that, look, it's not wrong to be attracted, it's not wrong to want to have relationships, but be mindful, be understand that there are terms on which these things happen. I think that is the most important thing. This is not moral policing. This is not about saying don't have relationships, that sex doesn't take place in life. That is not the point. When you are in a power occasion, you have to understand how it works. That is what.
So, lastly, from my side, is there clarity on where Malayalam industry and the film industry as a whole is headed? Because WCC has certain demands. There is an SIT. The government has formed it in all seriousness, but unfortunately, it's not able to proceed further. And the men seem to be pushing back at the same time. They want to concede some ground, but not too much
No,
ground.
it will change. I think it will. There is a cinema policy that we want to be involved with. We are coming up with a whole set of recommendations. I presume the federation is coming. I think there's a churning that's taking place. Like we say, the manthan is taking place, and something will something good will emerge. It cannot get dirtier. It can only get cleaner.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your
Thank,
time, ma'am,
yeah,
and
thank you.
really enjoy this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.